Okay, ready to dive into clutter.
Always a fun topic.
You've given me a really interesting mix of stuff this time.
Yeah.
Articles about tidying methods, popular in Taiwan.
Oh, cool.
A piece about decluttering and productivity.
Uh-huh.
And even a home makeover story.
Okay.
All about minimalist design.
It's everywhere you look these days, right? Another article or show about getting rid of your stuff.
Yeah, so let's dive in.
Yeah.
How do all these philosophies connect to life more broadly?
Sounds good.
We'll look at practical steps.
Yeah.
The psychology of our attachment to things.
Right.
And how a decluttered space can make you happier and more effective.
Great, I'm ready.
One thing that jumped out at me from these sources, especially the work of decluttering expert.
Oh, yeah?
What was their name again?
Right.
Yeah.
It's not all about becoming a minimalist.
Right.
Like, get rid of everything.
No, and I think that's refreshing.
Yeah.
Recorte really emphasizes not blindly following trends.
Oh,
interesting.
Like, if you love having a lot of things and have space for them, no need to force yourself to get rid of them.
So finding what works for you.
Exactly.
Not some minimalist box.
Exactly. They even had this one client who felt comfort and security being surrounded by their possessions. Makes you think twice about that stark minimalist aesthetic everyone's chasing.
Just like those perfectly organized pantries on social media.
Yeah.
So beautiful.
Right.
But like, can anyone live that way?
Well, that's where understanding the why comes in.
The why.
Of your clutter.
Okay.
Before you even start decluttering.
Got it.
It says that's key.
Interesting.
Why are you holding on to things?
Right.
Sentimentality.
Yeah.
Maybe you just forget you even own them.
Oh, total.
It's about honesty about your habits. And then figuring out solutions that actually fit.
Not generic advice.
Right. Decluttering with intention.
I like that.
Speaking of intention, they actually have this 4-step process.
Really?
You can apply to any area of life.
Not just your physical space.
Right.
Okay. Break it down for me.
Sure. It starts with, well, decluttering.
Okay.
Deciding what you really need, what you use,
Mm-hmm.
and getting rid of the rest.
The stuff you don't want.
Exactly.
Makes sense.
Then you categorize, grouping similar items together.
So you can see what you have.
Right.
And realize maybe you have 3 of something.
Exactly. Creating visual clarity.
I see.
Then comes optimizing flow of your space.
Okay.
Like rearranging furniture for better accessibility or storage solutions.
Yeah.
And finally, you assign a home for everything.
Oh, that's the one I always struggle with.
Yeah.
I declutter, I organize.
Yeah.
But it all ends up back in a pile.
But imagine if everything had its spot.
Okay.
Yeah. Think how much mental energy you free up.
No more, where did I put that?
Exactly.
That's a good point.
Right.
And it leads us to that connection between decluttering and productivity, which one of the articles highlighted.
That is interesting.
So much research backs up that idea.
About?
That a less cluttered environment boosts productivity.
It makes sense.
Right. If your desk is covered with papers,
oh yeah,
hard to focus on the task at hand.
But think about it deeper.
Okay.
Visual clutter bombards our brains with stimuli.
Right.
Pulling our attention in a million directions.
I could see that.
We waste mental energy just processing it all.
Yeah.
Decluttering your space can help clear your mental inbox too.
Interesting.
Freeing up resources for what matters.
So not just a tidy desk.
Right.
But creating mental space.
To think and focus.
Yeah, I get that.
And, you know, that leads to another aspect.
Okay.
Decluttering's about more than physical space.
What else?
It's about your emotions.
Oh, wow.
And that writer, they both had interesting thoughts on that.
What stood out to you?
Well, Bowl talked about how letting go of objects can help you process things.
Process.
Unresolved emotions.
Oh, wow.
Or memories tied to those objects.
Interesting.
They gave this powerful example.
What was it?
Of sorting through old photographs.
That's relatable.
Isn't it?
Those boxes of photos we mean to go through, but they're almost too loaded.
Emotionally.
Yeah, to even start.
It's acknowledging that stuff often holds a deeper meaning.
Okay.
And decluttering can be a form of healing.
And letting go.
Right.
I love that perspective.
Yeah.
And it reminds me how Eddie had talked about tidying as a pathway
to
a better life, not just a chore.
I like that part too.
Focus on what's truly important.
Yeah.
Letting go creates space, things that bring us joy.
And meaning.
Right. And her anecdote about redecorating hotel rooms?
Yes. On her travels.
fascinating.
Rearranging the furniture, putting away things she didn't need, creating a sense of home.
Prioritizing her needs in that space. It's like decluttering not just her surroundings, but her mental space too.
Exactly.
Creating peace and intention wherever she goes.
It's about that agency.
Yeah.
To curate your environment.
Even when not at home.
Right.
Speaking of curating, we also have insights from that interior designer.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Who embraces a minimalist design philosophy in their work. They believe space should be for living.
Not just storing things.
And it's important to remember...
What?
Minimalism doesn't have to mean stark and empty.
That's a good point.
Thal talks about quality over quantity. Yeah. Choosing items carefully. Function and beauty.
I like that.
And we see that in action.
Where?
In that home renovation feature you gave me.
Oh, right.
An open plan design transforming a cramped home.
It was amazing, wasn't it?
So spacious and bright.
Really showed how design can facilitate a decluttered lifestyle.
And that detail about the homeowner loving plants, incorporated into the kitchen with an indoor greenhouse.
Brilliant.
Shows how a decluttered space can still reflect you.
Your passions, your personality.
Right. Okay, so we've talked about practical tips, psychology of clutter, even a bit about minimalist design.
That's a lot.
But before we wrap up this part, I want to touch on something that intrigued me.
What's that?
Curated openness.
Oh, yeah, from the renovation feature.
Being intentional with the space.
How it supports your life.
The open floor plan's a perfect example.
Allows for flow and connection.
And remember how the homeowner loves hosting dinner parties?
Oh, right.
Perfectly suits that.
Creates space for socializing.
Gotcha stuff.
It all ties back. Decluttering as a means to an end.
Right.
Asking yourself, what are you making space for?
More gatherings.
Yeah.
Creative pursuits. Just peace.
Good questions.
I think that's a great place to pause.
Yeah.
In part 2, we'll explore even more.
Looking forward to it. So, we've been talking about creating space for what truly matters.
Right.
And how decluttering can play a role in that. It's interesting to think about minimalist design in that context.
Okay.
Because it doesn't have to be the only approach.
I see what you mean.
Like, minimalism is just one point on a spectrum.
Yeah.
There are other ways to approach decluttering that might resonate more.
With different people.
Exactly.
Like, maybe you thrive in a space filled with natural elements.
Plants, wood, light.
But you're still intentional.
About what's in that space.
So it's about being mindful, creating an environment that feels good to you.
Rather than just subscribing to one aesthetic.
Right, not fitting into a box.
Exactly, and that connects to another theme.
What's that?
This idea of decluttering as self-care.
Oh, interesting.
It's not just aesthetics.
Right.
It's how your space supports you.
Mentally, emotionally? That makes me think of the article. About decluttering and productivity.
Oh, yeah.
It mentioned how reducing physical clutter can actually lead to less mental clutter.
That's true.
And then a calmer state of mind.
And remember Tushel?
Yeah.
Talking about processing emotions. Through letting go of things.
It's amazing.
How decluttering can be a catalyst.
For what?
Personal growth, healing.
Not just organization. It's funny.
What is?
Now that you mention it.
Yeah.
There really is a sense of lightness.
After you declutter.
Right.
It's not just a clean house.
It's like a clear mind, too.
Think about how much easier it is.
To do what?
Relax.
Yeah.
Unwind.
In a space that's open and organized.
Not constantly bombarded.
To buy.
Visual reminder.
Of things to do or things you haven't dealt with. Coming home to a cluttered space after a long day.
Doesn't help you de-stress.
Makes me feel more overwhelmed.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So what if we reframe it?
Reframe what?
Decluttering as self-care.
Okay.
It's less about deprivation.
It's more about creating a space that nourishes you.
A sanctuary.
Yes. In your own home.
I like that.
Creating an environment that supports you.
And the life you want to live. It's probably important to acknowledge, though, that decluttering can be hard.
Oh, absolutely.
Practically.
And emotionally.
Yeah. Not always easy to let go of things.
Even if we know we should.
That's where having those practical strategies helps.
Like the 4-step process from Coist down.
Yeah, breaking it down into chunks.
Makes it less overwhelming.
It's like anything else, right?
What do you mean?
You don't have to do it all at once.
Right.
Start small, get a win, then tackle a bigger project.
Building momentum.
And if you get stuck stuck.
Yeah.
Remember those insights about the why?
Of your clutter.
Yeah, acknowledging those feelings.
It's sentimentality.
The fear of letting go.
It can help you move forward.
Giving yourself permission to feel those emotions.
Instead of ignoring them.
And if you're really struggling, there's no shame in getting support. A professional organizer?
Yeah.
Or even a therapist.
Could help you work through blocks.
Develop a personalized strategy.
There's no right or wrong way.
It's about finding what works for you.
And getting support.
Okay, so we've talked about letting go.
Of physical things.
Right, but one article touched on planned consumption.
Oh, yeah, that was interesting.
It's almost like the other side of the coin.
He was all about finding contentment.
Yeah.
Even during tough times.
Economically, you mean?
Right.
Planned consumption was one of the strategies.
Making conscious choices about what you buy.
Being mindful of your spending habits.
Not buying things on autopilot.
So it's being intentional with your money.
But also being aware of the impact
of your purchasing.
On the environment, society.
Recognizing that happiness doesn't come from just accumulating more stuff.
More and more.
I loved that example.
Which one?
The financial advisor.
Yeah.
Who considered selling their car.
Because they rarely use it.
They're living in the city.
Yeah.
They could save money, reduce their footprint.
Still get around easily.
Public transportation.
It's questioning what we think we need.
Being open to alternatives.
Sometimes what we think we need is just habit.
Not necessity.
And there was that story about the economist.
Oh, right.
Who embraces secondhand living.
Finding amazing things at thrift stores.
Giving new life to pre-loved items.
Instead of always buying new.
A treasure hunt and a way to reduce waste.
It's great. And the article mentioned making it a family activity.
Oh, cool.
Getting kids involved in sustainability.
Teaching them to be resourceful.
Appreciate the value of things.
Not just wanting the latest and greatest. So there's a strong connection.
Between what?
Planned consumption or mindful spending and those broader themes.
Decluttering, intentional living.
It's all about being deliberate.
About what you bring into your life.
Physically and mentally.
Not about deprivation.
Right.
But aligning your actions with your values.
So before we move on
to the last part,
it's worth pausing.
And reflecting.
How does planned consumption resonate with you?
It's a good question.
Are there areas to be more mindful about your spending?
Yeah, think about that.
Maybe places to reduce waste?
Or make more conscious choices.
About what you bring into your life.
Keep those questions in mind.
As we move into the last part.
Exploring how these principles extend even further.
Into our relationships.
Our sense of well-being.
Even our purpose. Okay, so we've covered decluttering our spaces.
And even our spending habit.
Impacting our well-being.
Creating intention in our lives.
Now I'm curious, how do these principles extend outward?
Outward?
Especially in our relationships with others.
That is an interesting area.
We've all had those moments, right? When our ideas about tidiness clash.
Oh yeah, with partners, roommates, family.
A common source of friction.
It is, but what if we looked at it differently?
Differently how?
As an opportunity.
Interesting.
Remember Hayel talked about considering everyone's needs.
Yeah, their personalities, too, when decluttering.
It can become a process of collaboration.
And deeper understanding.
Right. It's not about one person dictating.
How the whole space should be.
Exactly. It requires compromise.
Open communication.
Maybe letting go of that need for control.
Sounds a lot like navigating relationships in general.
Doesn't it?
Decluttering as a microcosm.
Of learning to share space, resources.
And contributing to a harmonious environment.
Can be a way to show care for the people you live with.
It's not just about keeping things tidy.
It's about creating a shared space that feels good for everyone.
And that makes me think of another point.
Yeah.
Decluttering not just our belongings.
But our time and energy, too.
Making space for what truly matters.
Like Dan said, tidying's not just a chore.
Right. A pathway to a better life.
Focusing on what's important.
Spending time with loved ones, hobbies, enjoying simple things.
Letting go of what's weighing us down.
Clutter. A packed schedule.
Creating space for experiences and relationships that bring joy.
You know, I've definitely felt too overwhelmed.
Too busy.
Yeah, to connect with people I care about.
I know that feeling.
Maybe too focused on keeping the house perfect.
Oh, that to-do list.
But what if we could use these principles
to free up that time and energy?
To nurture those relationships.
It's about creating a life
that reflects our values, priorities.
Including making time for those who matter most.
So as we wrap up this exploration
of decluttering,
maybe it's helpful to shift our perspective.
Thank you.
Instead of decluttering as a destination.
Yeah.
What if it's an ongoing process? Refinement, alignment.
Not about achieving perfect order,
but constantly evaluating
what serves us,
what we can let go of,
how to create space for growth,
evolution,
embracing the flow of life,
trusting that as we release what no longer serves us,
we open up to new possibilities,
a deeper sense of purpose. It's been inspiring, this deep dive into decluttering. I hope you, dear listener, feel empowered
to embark on your own journey,
whatever that looks like for you.
It's not about perfection.
It's about progress.
Creating space in your world.
You might be surprised how much space opens up
in your heart and mind
for the things that truly matter.
On that note, I think we'll leave you with that thought.
Until next time.